Chief Williams was a man who had everything. He didn't just own houses, he owned neighborhoods. He didn't just own cars, he owned a fleet. His company was a titan, and his word was law. But wealth has a way of attracting people who love the wallet more than the man. Now, Williams was getting old. His bones ached, and his hair was the color of winter. One quiet afternoon, he sat in his massive study, surrounded by gold-trimmed furniture. He looked at a family photo. His wife, Agatha. His sons, Frank and David. His daughters, Cynthia and Rose. "If I lose my breath today," he whispered to the empty room, "who will stay to keep me warm?" He decided to find out. He called his two most trusted allies, Mr. John, his lawyer, and Dr. Maxwell, his doctor. When they arrived, the room felt heavy. Williams sat them down and spoke in a voice like dry leaves. "I want to pretend I'm dying," Williams said. The lawyer gasped. The doctor froze. "I want to see who loves me," Williams continued. "I want to see who will feed me when I can no longer pay for the meal." Mr. John, the lawyer, leaned in. "Sir, if you do this, you must protect yourself. People get greedy when they smell a funeral. I will open a secret account. We'll move half your wealth there. If they try to rob you, they'll only find the crumbs." Williams nodded. A sad smile touched his lips. Dr. Maxwell adjusted his glasses. "I'll tell them it's cancer. Late stage. 6 months to live. I'll make it look real." The plan was set. The trap was laid. The next morning, the mansion was different. The heavy curtains were drawn. The smell of expensive cologne was replaced by the smell of medicine. Chief Williams stayed in bed. He forced himself to cough. A deep, dry sound that echoed through the hallways. He stopped eating. He let his beard grow wild. He looked like a man who was already halfway in the grave. Agatha and the 4 children gathered in the room. Their faces were pale. Soon, Dr. Maxwell arrived. He performed a fake exam while the family watched, trembling. He turned to them with a face as cold as stone. "I'm sorry," the doctor said. "It's cancer. It's spreading. He has 6 months. Maybe less." The room exploded. "No, Daddy!" Rose, the youngest, fell to her knees, clutching his hand. Agatha put a hand to her chest and sat down slowly. Frank and David looked at each other. A quick, sharp glance that lasted only a second. For the first week, they were perfect. They brought him soup. They sat by his bed. They whispered, "I love you," into his ear. But as the days turned into weeks, the masks began to rot. Agatha was the first to stop coming. "I can't go in there," she told the maids. "The room smells like death. It breaks my heart too much." But she wasn't crying. She was busy looking at jewelry catalogs. Cynthia said she was too busy with her social duties to visit. David said his work required him to travel. Then there was Frank. The eldest son didn't look at his father's face. He looked at his father's desk. One afternoon, Frank walked into the study while Williams lay in bed, watching through half-closed eyes. "Dad," Frank said, not even sitting down. "The company needs a leader. You're too weak. Sign these papers. Let me handle everything." Williams gave a weak, tired nod. Inside, Williams was taking notes. He watched as Frank stepped out of the room, his walk changing from a limp to a strut. The moment Frank had the keys, the party started. Downstairs, the mansion was no longer a home. It was a nightclub. Frank invited his friends. They drank his father's $1,000 wine. They laughed about the old man upstairs. "Soon," Frank told his friends, raising a glass, "this whole kingdom will be mine." While the music thundered downstairs, shaking the floorboards of the sick room, only one person remained, Rose. She didn't care about the parties. She didn't care about the clothes. She sat by the bed, wiping the sweat from her father's brow. She sang to him. She even slept on the hard floor beside him, just so she could hear him breathe. "I'm here, Daddy," she whispered, her eyes red from crying. "I'm not going anywhere." Williams felt a tear roll down his own cheek. He wasn't crying because he was sick. He was crying because he finally knew the truth. As the days turned into weeks, The mansion felt less like a home and more like a battlefield where the soldiers were waiting for the king to fall. Frank didn't waste any time. Now that he had the keys to the company, he acted like he had built it with his own hands. He walked into the boardroom with a swagger that turned the stomachs of the old employees. "Good morning," Frank announced, throwing his expensive briefcase on the table. "My father is done. He's not coming back. From today, I am the law here." Mr. Depot, a man who had worked with Chief Williams for nearly 30 years, stood up slowly. "Frank, your father is still alive. We should at least wait for his guidance." Frank slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Are you questioning me? In my own father's house? You're old, Depot. You're slow. You and anyone else who has a problem with me, you're fired. Get out." He cleared the room of everyone who was loyal to his father. He replaced them with his friends. Men who knew how to spend money, but not how to make it. Frank launched a luxury fashion line that made no sense. He spent millions on billboards with his own face on them. The company's bank accounts, once deep as an ocean, began to dry up. While Frank was destroying the office, David was busy destroying the estate. David had met a woman online who promised him the world, and he wanted to impress her with gold. He drove to the Sunray Grand Hotel, the crown jewel of his father's empire. "Sell it," David told the manager, Mr. Felix. "I want it gone by Friday." Felix was horrified. "Sir, your father built this place stone by stone. It's his pride. His pride is dying in a bed upstairs," David snapped. "And if you don't list this property, I'll find a manager who will." But unknown to David, the family lawyer, Mr. John, was one step ahead. Every time David tried to sell a piece of land or a building, Mr. John used the secret funds Williams had hidden. He hired strangers to buy the properties. David thought he was getting rich, but he was actually selling his father's property back to his father. The deeds were moved into a safe that only Williams and the lawyer could touch. Back at the mansion, the atmosphere turned toxic. Agatha, Williams' wife, had completely stopped pretending. She didn't even go to the guest room where they had moved Williams. "It smells like a hospital in there," she complained to Cynthia. "I'm too young to be a nurse. I'm a queen, and I deserve to be treated like one." Cynthia didn't care. She was too busy fighting with David over a plot of land she wanted for herself. "You sold the hotel. That was supposed to be mine," she screamed, slapping David across the face in the middle of the living room. They fought like dogs over a bone, while upstairs, the bone was listening to every word. The only peace Williams found was when Rose entered the room. She would bring him warm pap, her eyes always red from crying. "Daddy, please eat," she would whisper. "I asked Mom to fly you to Europe, but she said it's too expensive. I'm so sorry. I'll stay with you. I won't let them take you away." Williams wanted to reach out and hold her. He wanted to tell her the truth, but he had to be sure. He had to see how far they would go. Then came the ultimate insult. Agatha decided she was lonely. She brought a man named Ben into the house, a young gym instructor in his 30s. "He's my personal driver," Agatha told the children with a cold smile. But Rose knew. She saw the way they looked at each other. She saw Ben sleeping in the boys' quarters and Agatha sneaking out at night. One evening, Rose couldn't take it anymore. She followed the whispers to the back of the house and pushed open the door. She saw her mother sitting on Ben's lap, laughing while her father lay dying, just a few yards away. "Mama, how could you?" Rose screamed, her voice breaking. Agatha didn't even jump. She just looked at Rose with bored eyes. "Your father is a walking corpse, Rose. He's been dead to me for years. Now go back to your room and mind your business." Rose didn't go to her room. She went to her father's bedside. She packed a small bag for him and herself. "We're leaving, Daddy," she sobbed. "They don't deserve to breathe the same air as you. We're going back to the village. At least there, people remember who you are." Under the cover of night, Rose helped her weak father into a car. She didn't see the small, satisfied smile on his face as the mansion faded into the distance. The test was almost over. The reckoning was coming. The village was a different world. There were no marble floors or crystal chandeliers, but the air was clean. When news hit that Chief Williams had returned, the community didn't pull out calculators. They pulled out their hearts. Uncles, cousins, and old friends lined the red dirt road. They brought baskets of garden eggs, kegs of fresh palm wine, and prayers that shook the rafters of the small family hut. "Chief gave me the loan for my tractor," one man whispered. "He built our school," an old woman said, wiping her eyes. Rose watched in awe. In the city, her father was a bank account. In the village, he was a hero. One evening, the sickness finally broke. Williams sat under a massive mango tree, the orange sun setting behind the palms. He looked at Rose, who was busy fanning him to keep the mosquitoes away. "Rose," he said. His voice wasn't a whisper anymore. It was deep, resonant, and full of life. Rose dropped the fan. "Daddy? You sound so strong." Williams stood up. He didn't wobble. He didn't lean on a cane. He stood straight like a cedar tree. "I have never been sick, my daughter. There is no cancer. There is only a father who needed to see his children's hearts." Rose gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "The doctor, the lawyer, it was all a lie?" "It was a mirror," Williams corrected gently. "And in that mirror, I saw a saint named Rose and a house full of vipers. It's time to go home, Rose. I've seen enough." Back in the city, the mansion was a disaster zone. The company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Frank was sweating over a pile of unpaid bills. David was broke. Cynthia was screaming about her allowance. And Agatha was in the living room, whispering into her phone to Ben. The front door creaked open. They all turned, expecting a delivery or a creditor. Instead, they saw a ghost. Chief Williams walked in. He looked younger, stronger, and deadlier than he had in 10 years. Rose walked beside him, carrying her head high. The silence that hit the room was deafening. Frank dropped his glass. Agatha collapsed onto the sofa, her face turning the color of ash. "Daddy," Frank stammered. You're supposed to be dead." Williams finished the sentence for him. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, Frank. I know you already picked out your suit for the funeral." Williams didn't sit. He stood in the center of the room like a judge in a high court. Mr. John, the lawyer, stepped through the door behind him, carrying a thick black folder. "I sat in that bed and I listened," Williams began, his voice cold and steady. "I heard you, Frank, firing the men who built my empire. I heard you, David, selling my hotels like they were pieces of trash. I heard you, Cynthia, fighting over land while my corpse was still warm." He turned his gaze to Agatha. The room felt like it had dropped to 0 degrees. "And I saw you, Agatha. I saw the man you brought into my house. I saw the shame you dragged across my name." Agatha tried to crawl toward him. "Darling, I was lonely. I thought you were leaving me. You left me first," Williams snapped. "Mr. John, read the new terms." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Effective immediately, the following people are barred from the Williams estate: Frank, David, and Cynthia. Your inheritances have already been spent. Frank, the money you wasted at the company was your share. David, the hotels you tried to sell, which I bought back in secret, was your share. You are all cut off. You will find jobs or you will starve. The choice is yours." A wail went up from the children, but Williams didn't blink. "As for Agatha," the lawyer continued, "the divorce papers are in this folder. You have 1 hour to pack. Your driver is waiting at the gate." Williams placed a heavy, proud hand on Rose's shoulder. "And Rose? For the one who stayed when the lights went out. For the one who slept on the floor to hear my heart beat. Rose is now the sole owner of the Williams empire. She is the CEO. She is the heir. She is my daughter." 1 year later, the company didn't just survive. It thrived. Rose brought back the old workers. She ran the business with a heart of gold and a mind of steel. Chief Williams stayed in the office, but he didn't sit in the big chair. He sat on the balcony, watching his daughter lead. He was no longer testing anyone. He had found his truth. The lion was old, But his legacy was finally in the hands of someone who knew its worth.